I would now like to invite the talented, the iconic, the very stunning. I would like to invite myself to share a story with you. Is that okay? So, once upon a time, there was a little Chinese boy from Ipoh, Malaysia. And this is a story about how he became the Gaysian Empress of Sydney. Gaysian. It's funny that tonight's event is called Gaysian Stories because for a very long time, the word Gaysian made me very uncomfortable. The word Gaysian brings back painful, traumatic memories when I migrated to Australia. Ever since I was little, growing up in Malaysia, I knew I wanted to leave. Honestly, it did not matter where I would end up, but I just knew I would not be happy and I would not have a future in Malaysia. But don't get me wrong, I love my family and I'm really proud of my upbringing, but as a queer kid and in my teenage years, there was always something missing in my life. I was always searching for an answer and I wanted freedom. I wanted to live an authentic life. I wanted to be liberated. And I was only able to leave the environment that I grew up in because I worked really hard to get a scholarship to study in Australia. Otherwise, my parents wouldn't have been able to afford it. So the first time I left Malaysia was to move to another country, a Western country, white Australia. While I don't intend to make this my coming out story, as queer people, I believe the way we see ourselves, the way we act and respond, the way we treat other people, the way we treat ourselves, our self-worth, I feel like all these things were developed in the early years of coming out and self-discovery. And I'm sure our in-house psychologist, our speaker Z, can tell you all about this later. So when you are queer and also a person of color, a migrant, or if you're someone who is culturally, linguistically diverse, someone who has an accent, someone who grew up in a country with very different values and culture and find yourself navigating life and learning how to behave in a Western society. Sadly, things like microaggression, workplace discrimination, sexual racism, and something that Australia is really good at, casual racism, has serious repercussions on your self-worth. And so these are experiences unique to queer Asians and queer people of color, which our friends and allies might not completely understand. For example, when a white woman in HR says to me she completely understands how important it is for me to reclaim and use my Chinese name at work. Does she really though? And when you hear a white man joking with his mates saying, you know why COVID wouldn't last? Because it's made in China. And I'm literally sitting right next to them. Am I supposed to laugh and find that funny? I also work with a white woman from the Central Coast, and this is what she said to me. Hey Dee, I met this customer the other day and you're gonna get along so well. And I was like, why? So she said, oh, because he's gay and Asian too. Now, don't get me wrong, I love my Gaysian siblings, but the idea that we all get along just because we're all gay and Asian, does that make us all the same? Do we all look the same? Or maybe we're just different to white people. Do they want us to feel different to them? So these are experiences and stories that you don't understand unless at some point you were so close to asking someone out at a house party and your friend comes to you and says, "Hey D, I don't think he's into Asians." And you probably wouldn't notice, or you probably won't remember the early years of Grindr and online dating, where people would publicly post no rice, no spice, sorry, no Asians, no Indians, no whatever, insert racial preference. And those kind of experiences, they leave you wondering if every time you get rejected romantically or professionally, I often wonder, has this got to do with my queerness and cultural background? And you don't really know how it affects you until each time you see a group of white gay men in your head, you think, nah, they probably wouldn't be interested in someone who looks like me. But I've grown and I've learned. For example, white gay men and their board parties. Board parties, honestly, where everyone is white. Hell no, you can't pay me enough to DJ on that board for 3 hours playing Shania Twain, Man, I Feel Like a Woman. So these are stories that maybe you don't completely understand, but these are stories that we want to hear tonight. And while we necessarily haven't lived through some of these experiences, these are stories that I'm hoping would help us as a community of queers, Asians, BIPOC, and allies. As a community, will come together so that next time you hear someone say, "Oh, racism doesn't exist in Australia," you can say to them, "Wait a minute, do we live in the same country?" Now, a lot of people thank me for the work that I do for community and for Worship Queer Collective and bringing people together. I actually find that really amusing because I have selfishly, I'll tell you a little secret, I have selfishly created worship because I wanted to find my community. And the worship community of artists, crew, volunteers, and supporters, our lovely queer Asian BIPOC family, has played such a pivotal role in my journey of self-acceptance and growth. I now accept, but also fiercely challenge all the labels and stereotypes that come with being queer and Asian. And it was only through community support, a community who continues to inspire me, I am now able to write music and create art that I'm proud of. And that's how I became the Gaysian Empress of Sydney. Thank you. For our first birthday in 2022, so we started in 2021. For our first birthday in 2022, Worship Queer Collective made history by taking over the Powerhouse Museum. And tonight in 2024, with the support of Inner West Council, us queer Asians are taking over the iconic Merrickville Town Hall. And I'm still waiting for a call from the Opera House. Someone please make it happen. Jenny, please make it happen. It has to happen. All the tears that I have shed, all the nights I was wide awake, wondering what's wrong with me, and if my music career would have gone further if I were a blonde hair, blue eye, white boy with messy hair. But somehow when I look into the audience tonight, and when I look at all of you, I know that I'm okay. I know that I'll be okay. I know that I'm not alone. And I'm hoping the stories you hear tonight would make you feel less alone. Now, there is a very important message that I want you to take away from my opening speech tonight. I hope we can all leave here tonight being proud of who we are and where we come from. You might find it really hard to believe I was once a shy international student who was terrified of public speaking because of my early years migrating here. People would make fun of my accent. I wouldn't have thought that one day I would be performing to hundreds of people at Biennale Sydney last week. I wouldn't have thought that one day I would have created an event like tonight and be standing in front of 300-400 people here telling you a story about my life. So for all my queer Asians here tonight, I want us to know and leave here tonight proudly saying, yes, I am queer, yes, I am Asian, and damn right I am motherfucking excellent, period. Oh, and the other message is to please follow me on Spotify and Apple Music and stream my music. Thank you very much.